Alright, so welcome back to another video, guys. I hope you're all doing well. So earlier today, the 3060 was launched, and to a lot of people's chagrin, it was massively scalped. So within seconds of these cards going up online, people were just buying the crap out of them and selling them on eBay. As you guys can see here, these things are going for some absolutely crazy pricing. This one was actually sold for $900, and the MSRP for these cards is $320, which isn't really that realistic since a lot of these cards are being sold for close to $500. But again, it's absolutely insane how much these cards are being scalped, and I think it's a really bad miscalculation by scalpers. But before we get into this video, guys, make sure that if you do want to support the channel, hit that like button. It really helps this video get recommended to other people. And if you guys want to watch more content, we've got a bunch of new stuff planned for this month. So if you guys want to hit that subscribe button, it will really help me out. All right, so let's first off kind of talk about how the whole scalping dynamic works, right? So first off, scalping is the idea of artificially increasing the price of a product based off of the low demand of that particular product. And a lot of times, scalpers will artificially manipulate the supply of a particular product by just hoarding it and keeping onto it, right? They don't let it go into circulation so that they're able to keep on driving up the pricing of those cards that they are looking to sell. And again, this is a pretty easy way for these people to make some quick money. They really don't have to invest anything, and it's pretty much an easy buck for them to make. And it's super bad for us as consumers who are looking to just to buy one of these graphics cards, or for people who are actually going to use them for any sort of task. But again, to any sort of way of making money, there's always going to be some sort of a give and take. While scalpers might be able to make a quick buck here, their risk is extremely high when it comes to these particular cards. So what do I mean by that? Well, the 3060 isn't a 3080 or 3090 where they are produced in extremely low quantities. The 3060 is a pretty small die, and it's pretty easy to manage in terms of power consumption. So in terms of how easy it is for these cards to be produced, it's pretty easy. So I think these cards like these Asus Toughs and even these like lower end EVGA ones that you can find are going to be produced in a pretty massive amount. And considering that Nvidia probably doesn't have too many defects on these particular chips, they're probably going to be able to produce these chips to a pretty high extent and then just supply the AIBs with those chips. And again, it's not like we didn't see any stock. Like, I saw a crap ton of stock at my local Micro Center. There was 25 plus, so that's kind of the limit that they have on Micro Center. There was 25 plus of these particular cards, and there was 25 plus of an MSI variant, and there was 25 plus of another variant. And at the end of the day, they were all sold out. There are no RTX 3060s to be left, and I'm assuming that this is probably because of scalpers. But that was the initial shipment, and if we keep on getting shipments like those, or even half of that every single week, then we can actually start seeing the supply of these things starting to go up without the scalpers being able to manipulate it as easily. And that's the risk that they run, especially if you're trying to scalp a lower end card like the 3060 that's going to be able to be produced in such a high quantity. It's going to be super hard to try to control and make sure that the supply is super low. So if places like Best Buy and Micro Center and Amazon keep on getting a crap ton of shipments of these things in, and as long as people are able to kind of sit there and wait and actually able to snag one, then the demand of these things on eBay is going to go down and down and down. And the result of that is going to be the scalpers going to have to reduce their pricing. And then people are going to buy that lower pricing from the scalpers, which I'm sure the scalpers will be happy about. But again, once they sell those cards, they are also increasing the amount of supply within the world, so they are also decreasing the amount of demand, and it's just kind of this chain effect. The more and more of the cards that these guys sell from their stockpiles, the less and less these things are going to be worth. So basically, if Nvidia and all these AIB cards can ship out a ton of these cards every single week, I think within a month we are going to see drastically lower price on the secondhand market or the scalper market compared to what we saw with the 3080 and the 3090. Those cards are still being produced in a pretty low quantity, so it's pretty easy to scalp. But since these cards, I think, are going to be produced in a relatively high quantity compared to other cards out there, I think that it's going to be super easy for these cards to come down in price. And that's where I kind of think scalpers made their miscalculation. they didn't really look at this as a pretty low-end card that's going to be able to produce pretty easy. They just looked at this as a graphics card, and I know graphics cards are in pretty high demand right now, but I think within a couple months, where Nvidia is going to be pushing a lot to sell these graphics cards, and AMD is also going to be pushing to sell a lot of their lower-end graphics cards when they come out with them next month, I think demand is going to start to get saturated, and at that point, scalpers are going to have to reduce prices, and that chain reaction that we talked about beforehand is going to occur. But again, this is kind of a prediction. So if Nvidia and all these AIBs don't start flooding the market with all these cards because they want to sell as many as they can, then this will never happen. If they still are going to be stingy and still want to put up these prices, right, this $490 price limit, they're going to have to keep the supply low. Asus is making some crazy margins, and same thing with MSI on these particular cards, right? It's kind of crazy, and the only reason why they're doing that is because the particular demand for these cards is super high. But just kind of what I'm hoping for is the overall competition in the market from these different AIBs is going to result in a price decrease and a supply increase. And then the result of that's going to be the scalpers getting absolutely burned when it comes to them buying these products at these pricing, and then eventually it's going to go down once these AIBs are like, okay, we can't keep on selling these cards for what we initially launched them for, because now there is a good amount of inventory in the room. So again, if I was a scalper right now, I know I just don't like you guys in general, but again, here's some good advice. If I was a scalper right now, just to play it safe, I would probably get rid of all my 3060 stock that I have. Because if anything, these cards are going to bottom out quicker than any of the other cards out there. And if you want to make sure that you don't lose all that money that you spent stockpiling those cards, then I would probably try to sell them as quick as possible, because in the coming weeks, these cards are going to be starting to come in pretty regularly. So yeah, I know that was a little bit of a shorter video, and if you guys do kind of like that thing, make sure to leave that like down below, and if you guys have any particular thoughts on the matter, make sure to leave a comment. I'm definitely interested to see what you guys think about this entire scalping situation and what's going on with the 3060. But yeah, so thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.